Politicians are split on how new government budget rules will impact the country. And after 3 controversial amendments were passed, analysts expect repercussions well into the future. The crowd goes wild for these seniors showing off their strength. Plus, the National Palace Museum transports visitors back in time with a special costume party. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Betty Chen. Taiwan's 2025 government budget could be disrupted by a recent controversial amendment passed by the country's legislature. That's the warning from Taiwan's cabinet, and it comes after a slew of amendments were rammed through by lawmakers last week. Rick Glauber reports from the legislature.
Taiwan's cabinet is warning that a controversial amendment passed by this legislature just a few days ago could severely disrupt the way they spend their budget. They're saying they might have to cut as much as 30% of parts of the budget, including that all-important defense spending. Taiwan's government is split, with a ruling Democratic Progressive Party president and his cabinet, while this legislature is in the hands of main opposition parties. They've been clashing, quite literally. We've seen brawls in the legislature over the last few days over a controversial amendment that would reallocate funds from the central government to local governments.
那大家可以看到哦，这对台湾我们的自治来说是个重大里程碑，而且这一次的修法的重点呢是把饼做大，希望能够让地方的这个自主财源能够更加的丰盛。
事实上，你们只为了你们把这些钱分配来地方，地方未来要怎么使用，你不知道。地方是不是用来绑桩，是不是在做一些无效的小型工程，你也不知道。
This is one of just 3 controversial amendments that were passed over the last few days. Another changes the way that Taiwan's constitutional court works, and another will make it harder for Taiwan citizens to recall their local politicians. Taiwan's cabinet has said these laws are going to be difficult to implement, and over the weekend, Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te said that they could deprive Taiwan citizens of some of their rights and that they will endanger national security. This is not the first time that we've seen controversial amendments, legislative brawls, and protests over the last few months. Taiwan's cabinet has said it's still considering how it will move after these reforms were passed in the legislature, but there is, of course, the option that Taiwan's president refuses to sign them into law. This is all happening in just the first few months of 4-year legislative and presidential terms. So we can expect that this sort of political turmoil will continue for the foreseeable future. Alex Chen, Justin Wu, and Rick Laut in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
For more on what the new legal changes mean for Taiwan's politics, reporter Chris Gorin spoke with political risk analyst Ross Feingold.
I think when a lot of people see this footage of fighting in the legislature, they may think this is a government in disarray that is dysfunctional. Are they wrong?
They're wrong in the sense that this kind of pushing and shoving or blocking the doorway, even more violent interactions between legislators from the different parties is somewhat out of the ordinary, but it actually is quite ordinary. Taiwan has a long history of this, but eventually legislating proceeds, even if one side or the other does not like the outcome.
Let's say all of the amendments that passed eventually make it into law. How big of a change would this be? Is it the kind of thing that would impact politics for years to come, or is it a more marginal change?
I think these are significant changes. Increasing the quorum requirement for the Constitutional Court could have implications for laws that haven't even been passed, or other types of challenges to whether something is constitutional or not. Thinking of things like marriage equality, where it was interpretations by the executive branch that were challenged as being unconstitutional and eventually were found to be unconstitutional. And the same thing with the allocation of government revenues between the central government and local governments. If that remains as is post-amendment, that means going out into the future, the amount of money that the central government could spend is going to be significantly reduced, and the amount of money that local governments can spend, where that's basically handed over to them for spending, will increase substantially. This would also benefit the Chinese Nationalist Party because they control far more local governments at the moment than the Democratic Progressive Party does.
Is this about separation of powers, or is this purely partisan? In other words, if we were to see the party of the president and the legislative majority flip, would you expect to see a DPP majority reverse these amendments?
No, I would expect them to continue to support these changes, because if they had a legislative majority, it might give them more power. So again, when the shoe's on the other foot, we see the parties acting in the opposite way to which they previously acted. And that's one of the traditions of Taiwan democracy.
That was political risk analyst Ross Feingold. The minority leader Ke Jianming is calling a video of himself on a Chinese version of TikTok a deepfake. In a video, a person who appeared to be Ke made negative comments about his own party, the Democratic Progressive Party.
为什么在这个时候，我一定要出这种烂招大放厥呢？因为他们要混淆视听，因为这几天这是最关键的时刻。若这几天以后，台湾三赢变色，他们可以为所欲为。他们通过这种违宪的3个法案，是完全让台湾民主扼杀，让台湾亡国。
Ke was referring to amendments to 3 laws that passed with strong support from the opposition Kuomintang on Friday. Critics of the amendments have accused the KMT of catering to China by altering the country's democratic systems. Police are investigating the origins of videos and also urge the public not to share it. It is illegal to create and disseminate fake videos in Taiwan. At the Netherlands National Museum, a special exhibition is commemorating the country's 400 years of history with Taiwan, providing insight into a colonial era that continues to spark conversation about shared heritage and historical reckoning. Billy Wu reports.
Maps, newspapers, and illustrations from the 17th century transport visitors back to the Dutch colonial era in Taiwan nearly 400 years ago. The exhibition at Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam showcases 16 artworks and archival documents, offering a rare glimpse into this shared history.
我们现在看到的是1662年时候的一个新闻报纸，然后上面的报纸就是描述的是1661年热兰遮城就是受到郑成功的水军围城时候的情况。
European powers began traveling to East Asia in the 15th century, seeking trade opportunities and setting up colonies. For nearly 4 decades in the 1600s, the Netherlands used Taiwan as a key transit hub, boosting the exchange of goods across Asia. The southern part of Taiwan was ruled by the Dutch East India Company during this time. However, most people in the Netherlands know little about this shared history with Taiwan.
If you would have asked anyone about the Netherlands and Taiwan, say 20 years ago, people wouldn't have known what you were talking about. People were completely unaware.
Now, the exhibition offers a fresh perspective on the intertwined histories of the two countries. While this connection is still unfamiliar to many in the Netherlands, interest has been gradually growing.
And it has sort of slowly changed, I suppose. I don't think it's a topic that a whole lot of people know about now, but at least there has been this steady stream of publications.
Today, conversations around transitional justice are raising deeper questions about the Dutch colonial legacy. These reflections extend beyond historical documents. Exhibitions like this encourage a more nuanced understanding of the era, examining the colonial past and its lasting connections to Taiwan.
这个都是殖民的痕迹，没有错了哈。但是我们换个方式来讲，这些都是 heritage， 就是遗产哦。那遗产当然它会记录各式各样的意义哈。透过这些遗产哦，我们也可以知道过去发生过什么事情。
The relationship between Taiwan and the Netherlands has evolved from colonial encounters to a dynamic partnership in culture, economics, and diplomacy. These exhibitions serve as a powerful reminder of how history shapes the present and the conversations we have about it. Klein Wang and Billy Wu for TaiwanPlus.
The National Palace Museum's annual costume party has offered a blast from the past. Partygoers went all out, with many dressed as characters from ancient Chinese dynasties, transporting the museum back in time. Kaitlyn's Kuranta reports.
People from different Chinese dynasties, from hundreds or even thousands of years ago, gather at the National Palace Museum in Taipei. Or at least, they're dressed like it.
我今天打扮主要是唐朝的打扮，我姓李，李就是那个 Tang Dynasty 的姓，对，他就是姓李，然后所以我就觉得那个很像是跟我有亲戚的感觉，对对对，所以今天就特别选了这样的造型，这样子。
清朝，以前那个时代的指甲留很长，他们要保护它不要断掉，所以会用这个夹子把它带着保护它，保护指甲不会断。那指甲越长越尊贵。
The National Palace Museum is home to hundreds of thousands of Chinese artifacts, most brought over from China by the nationalists in 1948 and 1949, as they were losing the Chinese Civil War to Communist Party forces. This year, around 2,000 people joined the museum's annual costume party, and while many were dressed in traditional Chinese outfits, others brought a more modern twist.
I just get this idea from the Met Gala in 2020 called Gilded Glamour, and I just wanted to look like a rich German heiress, going to the opera. Yeah, so it's just like opera coat with suit.
This year's theme is based on Dream of the Red Chamber. It's an 18th century book that's considered one of the 4 great classical novels of Chinese literature. Inside here is a special exhibit that's supposed to take people through the fictional world of the book. The museum's Dream of the Red Chamber exhibit displays objects mentioned in the novel, a story about a prominent Qing dynasty family. Partygoers could visit the exhibit, and one of the museum's deputy directors said the hope is they'll gain a better understanding of the book.
那时候你看这个文物一定是最美的，而且当你开始发现它是一个美的文物，你就会想说为什么他要这样做，它的背景是什么？我们故宫达到目的了。
Many attendees said the exhibit made the story feel more real.
就是有一种好像看到就是以前在书上的那些文字，然后变成了一个实体化，就更有一个实际的感觉。
我小时候课本里面都会介绍《红楼梦》这样，然后我们都会很像就是我们年轻的时候会读的小说，然后就觉得很有趣。那在这里面一些小物件的展品，然后就让我们觉得说，就是能够对于那个书中的那种想象就变得比较具体，然后就觉得这本书更有意思。
But some of the party's younger attendees weren't as impressed.
We didn't learn a thing because they're just boring rocks and plates. I don't know why they show up in the museum.
In keeping with the theme, performers interpreted scenes from the book. And regardless of what attendees thought of the exhibition, for one night, they could experience some of the culture of a bygone age. Chen, Devin Tsai, and Kaitlyn's Kuranta for TaiwanPlus.
Coming up after the break. Live action role-playing enthusiasts or LARPers go medieval on each other at Taiwan's largest Renaissance fair.
I'm Ed Moon in Taiwan's Jinmen Islands, and you're watching TaiwanPlus News, the voice of freedom in Asia.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. Taiwan's legislative speaker is set to attend U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's inauguration on January 20th. Politico is reporting that Han Kuo-yu, a KMT politician, will lead a large delegation of Taiwanese officials to the event in Washington, D.C. Taiwan usually sends representatives to U.S. presidential inaugurations despite backlash from China. The country sent 11 bipartisan reps to Trump's first inauguration in 2017. Trump has also invited Chinese President Xi Jinping to attend in January, though he's not expected to go. Stay tuned to TaiwanPlus through January as we bring you coverage from the U.S. inauguration. Former Taiwan President Ma Ying-jeou has said Taiwanese and Chinese historians should work together to expose Japanese war crimes against China during World War II. Ma made a comment after visiting a museum on a Japanese military unit that tested biological weapons on humans. He's on a 9-day trip to China with a group of Taiwanese students, Ma's second trip to China this year. The former president emphasizes the importance of cross-strait exchanges, but such exchange trips are often criticized in Taiwan. A Chinese delegation that recently visited Taiwan, invited by Ma's foundation, triggered protests, with many members of the delegation affiliated with the Chinese Communist Party. China is objecting to a plan by the Philippines to acquire the U.S.-made Typhoon missile system.
菲方引入中导系统这一战略性、进攻性武器，是配合域外势力制造地区紧张对立。
The Philippine military says it plans to acquire the Typhoon mid-range missile system to boost its defenses. The decision comes as Manila and Beijing continue to clash over disputed waters in the South China Sea. The U.S. deployed the Typhoon system in the Philippines' northern Luzon Island in April as part of a joint military exercise. The system has remained there since then. Australia will extradite a former United States Marine Corps pilot to the U.S. after he was accused of illegally training Chinese fighter pilots. U.S. prosecutors have charged Daniel Duggan with breaking U.S. arms trafficking laws. They say he accepted money to train Chinese pilots to land jets on aircraft carriers over 10 years ago. Australian officials arrested Duggan, a naturalized Australian citizen, on behalf of the U.S. in 2022. He has been fighting extradition to the U.S., where he could face up to 65 years in prison. China's military has been trying to recruit former pilots from the U.S. and other countries to study their military tactics. Panama's President Jose Raul Mulino has reaffirmed the Central American country's sovereignty over the Panama Canal after U.S. President-elect Donald Trump threatened to take back control of the waterway.
Quiero expresar de manera precisa que cada metro cuadrado del Canal de Panamá y su zona adyacente es de Panamá y lo seguirá siendo. La soberanía e independencia de nuestro país no son negociables.
President Mulino took to X to make the statement where he defended passage raids his country charges, saying, quote, "Raids are not a win." In a speech to supporters in Arizona, Trump said Panama has been charging excessive fees to use the passage and warned of potential Chinese influence on the Panama Canal. People gathered in Taipei over the weekend to celebrate the 5th anniversary of Dragon Dungeon Day with the country's largest Renaissance fair. Millie Hughes went to meet some of Taiwan's live-action role-playing community to find out more.
Here at Taiwan's largest Renaissance fair, the LARPing community, otherwise known as live-action role players, are gathered here today wearing their favorite costumes inspired by European medieval history.
Dennis is a member of Taiwan's LARPing Society and one of the organizers of Dragon Dungeon Day.
LARP is live action role play， 它意思就是有点像真人的角色扮演游戏。我们小时候都玩过什么 RPG 或线上游戏，那 LARPing 就像是真的人来玩线上的 RPG 游戏一样，所以你会有真实的互动，比如说你拿武器互相打来打去，那你可能会有真实的对话跟穿着衣服。那这个是 LARPing 的主要定义。其实，在台湾的 LARP 发展的还不错，有各式各样的社团，北中南都有自己的社团。那每个的风格也不大相同，然后其实玩家会去尝试各种不同，然后找到更自己喜欢的社团。
Adventurers are invited to complete real-life quests by finding clues at all the stalls, offering fun and fantastical finds.
Those who complete their quests will be rewarded with badges like these.
Other activities involve archery, interactive board games, trying on armor, and battle simulations. Also, a medieval music performance.
释放压力这一块，还有就是我们算是模拟实战的一些竞技类的一些运动，它算是一种 sports， 你可以把它当成一种 sports。
Yes, I'm a LARPer. I've been doing it for about 7 years, I think. I knew about it in the US, but I didn't really have a chance to do it until I got here. I think we're growing a lot. It started out, just like maybe 20 people in a park, and now we have big battles where we might have 100 or so people.
我是第二次来这边，去年也有来过。这其实这个市集第5届，是我第5次来。对。 我身上有5个胸章，这个是第1届的、第2届的、第3届的、第4届的跟第5届的。
这是我第2次来参加。I think this community is growing very largely because I've heard from them that initially the scale of this group maybe just hundreds, but now it becomes thousands or 10,000s. So you can see the flow here is very huge. Yes, it's a proof of this community is growing.
Whether a seasoned LARPer or a casual fantasy fan, Taiwan's largest Renaissance fair has something for everyone.
It's a space to let out your alter ego, explore a world of new identities, or engage in a new hobby. Although just in its 5th year, the organisers here hope Dragon Dungeon Day will gain legendary status and earn a place in Taiwan's cultural landscape. Luffy Lee, Bryn Thomas and Millie Hughes for TaiwanPlus.
Researchers in South Korea are working on a robotic exoskeleton that may give people with paralysia a new way to move through life. Chris Goring has more.
Kim Sung-hwan is a researcher of robotics in South Korea. And as a person with paraplegia, he could be said to have particular skin in the game in his field of study. After years of work, he and his team may have reached a new breakthrough. This new robotic exoskeleton was developed by the Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology. It might not only allow people with paraplegia to walk, but also move to its pilot, who can suit up directly from their wheelchair. Kim says it's given him new hope.
아빠는 지금 이렇게 휠체어를 타고 있지만 주호는 이제 이렇게 걸어다니고 뛰어다니고 있잖아. 이런 사람도 있고 저런 사람도 있는 거야. 하지만 아빠도 이렇게 걸을 수 있고 걸었던 적이 있었어라는 거를 좀 다양한 경험이라고 해야 될까요? 그런 걸 좀 그냥 얘기해 주고 싶었어요.
The suit weighs only 50 kilograms, has 12 individual motors, allows users to walk at speeds of over 3 kilometers per hour, and even walk up stairs. Cameras and sensors perform thousands of operations per second to keep it stable and avoid hazards. The high-tech suit was partly inspired by Hollywood.
그 아이언맨 좋아했었거든요. 근데 아이언맨 보면서 실제로 로봇으로 사람들을 좀 도와주면 좋겠는데 이런 생각도 있었고.
The research team says their goal is to test their award-winning exoskeleton beyond controlled environments like the lab, in real-world conditions like uneven terrain and bad weather. All part of the team's mission to redefine what it means to stand on your own 2 feet. Scott Huang and Chris Gorin for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan is set to become a super-age society next year, meaning 1 in every 5 people will be aged 65 or older. As the population ages, elder care is becoming more and more important. And there's one competition in Taiwan highlighting the benefits of health maintenance for seniors through weightlifting. Leslie Liao has more.
90-year-old Chen Jinmei is on a mission to prove that weightlifting is not just a young person's game. She's deadlifting 35 kilograms at a competition for people aged 70 and above. Then she ups the weight and lifts 40 kilograms like it's nothing. Zheng Chen started lifting weights in 2023 after a car accident injury left her idle and on bed rest.
原本阿嬷在车祸前是2020年车祸前是很健康的，然后因为老人家一跌倒一休息，然后老人的那些退化症通通都一直出来。
好，再这个。Zheng Chen's family asked her to start weight training to maintain her health, and it worked.
我有甲在老人讲哦，大家来做，唔是讲咱要来做安怎，是身体较健康。无我迄阵啊，都直直翘骨咯，啊直直袂行。
At the competition, Zheng Chen's big moment comes when she deadlifts 45 kilograms. Organizers put on this weightlifting competition to help raise awareness about seniors' health. Taiwan is set to become a super-aged society in 2025, meaning a fifth of the population will be over 65 years old by then. Promoting healthy habits among Taiwan's growing senior population is now an important part of the country's health objectives.
应该说，我们办这比赛也是一个沟通的方式。为什么？我们就是直接让我们的长辈直接来现场看。所以说，你看我们这个长辈，你看70、80岁 ，even 90岁，他都可以做这个6、9样的硬举，他可以做的也是蛮重，70、80公斤。
Zheng Chen Jinmei has gone against all odds at 90 years old, proving that advanced age doesn't have to mean losing your strength. With an iron will, pumping iron is still very much anyone's game. Chen and Leslie Liao for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. Finally today, check out the iconic doll from South Korea's Squid Game TV series that's been appearing in Taiwan and Thailand ahead of the show's second season. I'm Betty Chen. Take care and see you next time.